Good morning to all the people who are connected with us during this webinar. First of all, let me introduce to you the member of Provital's global marketing team. Our product managers, Leire Cueva.
Hi.
Clara Vigo.
Hello there.
And Ruby Samudio.
Hello, everyone.
And our communication specialist, Ricardo Fernandez.
Hi.
I am Sian Bourir, marketing manager, and we all five are avid hunters of trends and innovations in cosmetics and beauty. Today, we are delighted to share with you our selection of key insights of one of the most anticipated annual events in the cosmetic sector, in Cosmetic Global, whose 2022 edition took place in Paris just a couple of weeks ago. The joy and great expectation that we felt when preparing everything and arriving there was shared with each one of those attending the event, since during the 3 days that it took place, the joy of having finally returned to the face-to-face format was felt. The reunions between friends and the joyful conversation between everyone were noticeable, because gradually returning to normality, being able to meet, see each other in person, and talk face-to-face, tell us that we can look at the future with new eyes. We also want to thank the organization committee. Thank you very much for making this in Cosmetic Global possible, where we have seen innovation, new trends that anticipate what is to come, including new ways of presenting products and original formulation. Also, it has attracted attention, like never before, the leading role that the issue of sustainability has, since it has been the common umbrella and with each of the new products has been developed and the compass that each of the companies is following. Topics such as upcycling, circular economy, respectful use of resources, fair distribution of benefits, as well as 100% biodegradable products, waterless formulation, etc., have been present in each talk, and not only in the area of sustainability, but also in every corner of the innovation zone. And we have been able to see in some way the principle of sustainability also physically in the stand. Right, Ricardo?
Of course I am. This year, we have found a boom in highly thought designs with intention of transmitting values of caring for the planet and the environment, with a respectful use of resources and the use of recyclable materials in many stands. But not only that, this same philosophy was present even in the small details, such as the choice to use FSC certified paper for prints, catalogs, and brochures, and even in the choice of packaging material used in the catering offer in some stands, for example. Not only do you have to appear sustainable, you also have to take actions that prove you are sustainable. For this reason, many brands promoted products with a background related to sustainability and social responsibility. On the other hand, that joy of meeting again in person has been reflected in a tangible way. We have come across many open concept stands inviting a feeling of large spaces despite being indoors. That joy and optimism was also noted in great display of color, which was clearly seen in the exhibition bags. That breaks more and more with those concepts used years ago of seriousness and formality, inviting attendees to come into the stand and feel at home and welcome to spend a good time chatting face to face. It was logical that after having lived through so much stress and uncertainty during the pandemic, people really wanted to have a good time and distress in a good environment.
You are absolutely right, Ricardo. In fact, talking about stress, we have seen that this theme has been very present and has been one of the innovation engines of the products presented at InCosmetic this year. Today, more than ever, people have realized the importance of taking care of our health and giving importance to all those signs that may indicate that our body is not at its best. And these healthcares come hands in hand with changes in our activity and habits, in our diet, but also in caring for our skin. We know that the stress caused by COVID has not only been reflected in some people throughout a more accelerated process in the appearance of skin aging, making it look fatigued and dull, but that many cases of skin sensitization have also arisen. But behind the famous mask acne and the emergence of products to combat it, many multifunctional ingredients have been presented at this in cosmetics.
Yeah, that's right, Siham. And to talk about multifunctional ingredients, first let's talk about the term exposome. And well, we know that this term is no longer new, and we are aware that all those factors which our skin is supposed to influence us, our health and well-being as well, not only in just one way, but in several aspects, all at the same time. And for this reason, a great answer is multifunctional ingredients, which can not only protect our skin barrier against external aggressions, but as in the case of many of the ingredients presented at the in-cosmetics, can also soothe the skin, improve well-being, alleviate sensitive skin, and beyond, modulate protein expression involved in some skin disorders, or they can even protect the skin against damage induced by inflammation, thanks to epigenetic regulation of the inflammasome. Other multifunctional ingredients, in addition to moisturizing the skin, also protect important intracellular structures such as cell DNA integrity, or can even protect the skin telocytes or proliferating epidermal stem cells against the damaging effects of psychological stress within the cells. Also, comparing past editions of in-cosmetics with these years, we have seen a greater presence of another type of multifunctional ingredient, right, Lede?
Yes, that's right, Ruby. This year, we have seen more companies focus on the study of phytocannabinoids and the benefits on the skin, among which we can highlight the bacteriostatic, sebostatic, and anti-inflammatory properties. Also, we can see there is a peak of alternatives to cannabinoids that do not have regulatory problems in most countries, but that maintain the benefits we have mentioned. Other properties of cannabinoids that have been highlighted during the INCOS Global are hydration and skin soothing effects, which demonstrate there is an increasing demand for solutions for the skin sensitization due to psychological stress. And talking of psychological aspects, especially after the pandemic context, we have realized how important being socially connected is for our happiness and well-being. Indeed, there are a lot of discussions now about the connection of our well-being with the brain and even with the skin. Clara, could you explain to us more about this great interconnectivity?
Sure. We are aware that nothing can be considered in isolation, but there are interconnections between all members of a system. And this concept also applies to our organism, of course. For decades, it has been known that our body is a complex system with many internal connections. But thanks to science, more and more interconnections are being discovered and given a greater importance. For example, fibroblasts are skin cells, but there is a relationship between the skin system in which they are part and the immune and even the vascular systems. And this interconnection is not maintained in a stationary state, but its functioning and metabolism are constantly changing due to different factors such as natural aging. And it is thanks to this knowledge that innovations are appearing with active ingredients that work in these interconnected processes. Other interconnections that we have heard a lot about in this in-cosmetics fair have been the skin-brain well-being connection, or what we know as neurocosmetics, also referred to as the skin happiness connection. But don't think of it as a sensory cosmetic. No, neurocosmetic goes further. It analyzes the neuroimmunocutaneous system in order to activate the skin's natural soothing mechanisms in new and disruptive ways. Anyway, we were just talking about stress and how it affects the skin aging, right? Well, due to the release of cortisol and substance P instructed by the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis when this is under emotional stress, there is a proven telomere length shortening on our cell's DNA. So it is evident that every day we discover more connections in our body, and surely we will discover some more. Likewise, these connections have not only been studied in our skin, they also apply to the world of hair care. In fact, for several years, hair has no longer been seen as something isolated. We have gone from considering scalp hair to follicle hair shaft connection, to also giving importance to the role of scalp neurons in helping to reduce scalp sensitivity. Thanks to this, cutting-edge products have been developed around cortisol modulation and its effect on oxytocin levels for soothing effects, or others that are even around the suppressing actions of these sensory neurons to calm and itchy scalp. So, it is indisputable that neurocosmetics has come to stay in scalp care as well. All in all, it is based on the study of all these interconnections that one of the trends that is still in vogue is the so-called holistic beauty, the beauty to achieve a general well-being. But lately, inside this well-known trend, several products that come from natural adaptogens have stood out.
Of course, Clara. This reminds me a lot of our Kerascal, which precisely comes from an adaptogenic fruit from India and Pakistan called amla. But in this edition of In Cosmetics, we have not only stayed with adaptogens, but we have seen that we now go further and look for organisms that are resistant to adverse environmental conditions, to study them and be able to apply their survival mechanism for the benefits of our skin. So cosmetics is becoming biomimetic. Those parts of the plants that surround and or protect them are also being used to simulate the same process to be able to protect our skin in the same way. Furthermore, even biomimicking the mechanism of plants that are considered to resurrect after certain periods of great drought or other adverse conditions. For example, microalgae with thermophilic or extremophilic properties have been studied to transfer their adaptability and resilience to skin cells against hostile environment conditions. Also, some ingredients from algae with great antioxidant properties, such as astaxanthin and fucoxanthin, has been highlighted. On the other hand, microalgae are also being used to produce other types of natural molecules. Isn't that right, Ruby?
Yeah, Seyhan, that's correct. It is actually curious that microalgae are now being used to obtain natural alternatives to the highly appreciated retinol. And the advantage of this microalgae derivative it is that it doesn't cause any irritation to the skin. And talking about retinol, some other plant-based alternatives have been put forward, as well as means to make it, for example, hydrosoluble, such as through its vectorization in order to achieve higher stability and better penetration into the skin. Another key ingredient in cosmetics is undoubtedly collagen, and at this year's In Cosmetics, we have seen alternatives to it produced in plants. That is phytocollagen, which has the same benefits equivalent to collagen, such as its well-being effects and improvement of skin hydration. Even and precisely in line with what Clara told us about connections and that nothing works in isolation, the synergistic effect of phytocollagen with, for example, vitamin C has also been studied. Other ingredients that are still present in some new launches are peptides, but not only as active ingredients. We are now beyond that, since nowadays we are also using peptides to improve the penetration of other types of active ingredients into epidermal cells. In this case, we are talking about cell-penetrating peptides, which have been researched and applied in the pharmaceutical world for years, but are now also being used in cosmetics to achieve rapid penetration of, for example, antioxidants. And in all these cases that I have already mentioned, I would like to emphasize that they are mostly bioengineered ingredients, precisely because the biotechnological advancements are driving the future of sustainable ingredient products. Beauty brands that create engineered natural ingredients can address issues related to unsustainable natural materials and costly supply chain issues related to sustainability of natural materials can also be addressed in this way. So, well, in this line, the biofermentation processes have definitely stood out. Clara, you were in several technical talks on this topic, so what can you share with us about it?
Well, we know that fermentation has been used since ancient times by many cultures to obtain food products of great nutritional value, and that this knowledge has also been applied to the world of cosmetics for a long time already. In this case, microorganisms are used to obtain new molecules from common sources of saccharides to obtain postbiotic complexes. It has even gone a step further now to reach the so-called hyperfermentation, which is a combination of traditional fermentation with enzyme bioliquefaction. The target of this process is making all those plants or parts of them that were not all so easily fermentable until now, well, they are made fermentable. And just speaking of postbiotics, it should be noted that one of the hot topics during this in cosmetics continues to be the bacterial balance of the microbiome. Prebiotics are still present to act as bacteriostatics and to limit inflammation markers. But now we see more and more the presence of probiotics and even more postbiotics, that is, lactobacilli metabolites capable of providing micronutrients to the skin. When talking about the microbiome, we are also talking about taking care of one of the many protection mechanisms of our skin. In general, many launches this year are focused on enhancing exactly that, our body's own protection mechanisms, such as the stimulation of psychological protection mechanisms to limit photo damage, or maximizing sunlight benefits for safe holistic wellness, or even ingredients that favor the endogenous production of vitamin D, even when the skin is not constantly exposed to the sun. So in general, we are talking about a trend that continues and will continue among consumers, and it is self-care, now described as conscious care of ourselves and of those organs as important as the skin. And although precisely in this edition of the In Cosmetics, our desire to go out has been seen more than ever, we are also aware that most beauty routines are carried out from the intimate comfort of our homes. So, of course, regardless of where, beauty routines now bet more than ever on the everything natural, because natural is the new black, right? And under this perspective, we've seen some interesting cosmetic natural active alternatives to plastic surgery.
Yes, Clara, that's right. We are in a context where aesthetic surgery is growing globally, and consumers are increasingly asking for non-invasive and kinder solutions to enhance their contours. Cosmetics are a fantastic response to those demands, as they offer candid solutions that are also effective. Indeed, during the fair, we have seen some proposals of face and body volumizers active ingredients. But to respond to consumers' demand, it is important to consider that beauty concepts are changing. Beauty is getting more inclusive, and cosmetic solutions should respond to that demand of authenticity, offering solutions that include all kinds of beauty. Also, to satisfy today's consumers, which is more demanding than ever, as he is pretty well informed, we should offer innovative solutions and new mechanisms of action. we are talking about smart beauty. In Provital, we have taken advantage of transcriptomics and bioinformatics to offer a body volumizer ingredient that proves its efficacy based on big data. Thanks to transcriptomics, Provital goes from classical in vitro tests that analyze pro-adipogenic effects on a few genes to new RNA sequencing possibilities that allow us to analyze the pro-adipogenic effects in all genes, more than 12,000 in total. So we can identify new cosmetic applications and multiple mechanisms of actions, offering that way a vast new field for cosmetics body volumizers as consumers are requesting. And to end, today's consumers is eco-conscious, as we have seen it with the explosion of clean beauty trends. We have also seen in the fair that natural certifications are expanding. Our active ingredients CAPAP also meets the needs of eco-conscious consumer, as it is 100% natural origin, comes from organic blackberry, is vegan compliant, and finally, it's also COSMOS certified.
Very interesting, lady. And after everything we have seen, what do you think the future holds?
Well, since summer is coming, I plan to spend as much time as possible outside. So I will definitely need to protect myself from the sun, and I plan to use products like the ones we saw at It Cosmetics with eco-conscious UV filters that respect the planet and also the marine species, in addition to give my skin the protection that it needs, of course. And well, if age spots appear, now I'm calmer because I've seen the appearance of more and more products with interesting mechanisms of action, such as the ones that stimulate processes such as autophagy and proteasome activity to eliminate dysfunctional cellular biological components. So I can go to the beach without any worries.
I think I will come with you, Ruby. In fact, I'm so tired of spending so much time in front of my computer and cell phone screens that I'm beginning to worry about the effect of so much artificial blue light radiation on my skin. So without doubt, I will need one of the featured anti-blue light products to help my poor stressed skin cells recover from this digital overdose. So please, is there any cosmetic product that helps our skin recover from all this digital and non-digital stress? Something that mimics a good night's sleep would be great. I don't think I'd be the only one interested on such a product, after ink especially.
For sure not, Clara. I think that with all this, we are ready to go outside and enjoy the good weather. Well, we hope that this selection of key insights from the In-Cosmetics Global has been interesting for you and that inspires you to continue creating and above all to take care. Thank you all for listening. And of course, we are pleased to answer any question that you may have, either here through the YouTube chat box or late through our email, marketing@weareprovital.com. Yeah, I think we have some question here. I'm going to read it. Hi, everyone. When you talk about interconnectivity of the brain and the well-being, are you referring to neurocosmetics? We talk about that from a while. Is still a requested issue?
With the permission of my colleagues, I will be pleased to respond to that. Thanks, Vera. That's a great question. It is correct. It has been a while since we hear about neurocosmetics. They refer to the relation that exists between having a nice appearance and feeling good. It defines the relationship between the skin and the central nervous system. But what we have seen during interconnectivity mentions during the fair is that any claim that supports that there is an impact on well-being thanks to a new mechanism of action, ingredient activity or whatever, is going to be very well accepted because feeling good is an issue that is evolving and that appeals to today's consumer that is looking for new holistic solutions to enhance its well-being. In Provital, we offer Sensorin, an active ingredient that connects senses with the skin in response to that mentioned interconnectivity. It is capable of calming the skin with our own bitter sensory receptors that are in the skin. We go a step forward from sensory cosmetics based on stimulating the senses through the smell, for example, or neurocosmetic based on the relation between the skin and the nervous central system. In our case, we talk about sensocosmetics that refers to the existing connection between test sensory receptors and our skin, a concept aligned with interconnectivity mentioned during the fair, and that offers also a new vision of the connection between the skin and the well-being as consumers are requesting.
Yeah, you're right, Leire. Thank you very much for answering. I have another question here in the chat. Why is autophagy important in cosmetics? Maybe
Okay, I'll take that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Because I'm a science freak, so yeah, I like that question. Well, we all know that autophagy is a very important cellular process because it allows the cell to take all the macromolecules that are accumulated within it and then degrade them and recycle the components of these biomacromolecules so that in this way the cell gets some energy, it saves energy, and it gets rid of the molecules that it doesn't need anymore. And well, we know that this term it talks about the lysosomal mediated process, and we know that there are three different mechanisms. The first one is the chaperone mediated, we have the microautophagy, and the one that is the most studied is the macroautophagy. In this term, we talk not only about the degradation of big biomolecules such as proteins, for example, but we also talk about the degradation of organelles that are not working at their best anymore. And if we talk about the degradation of, for example, mitochondria, then we are talking about mitophagy within the cell. So I'm talking about mitophagy because it has been seen that the relationship between this process and cell aging is very important, because when the cells are aging, the processes within the mitochondria slow down so that the cell cannot get the energy that it needs to continue with all the functions. And it is very important for these cells to be able to recycle the mitochondria that are not working well anymore, and just to keep the ones that are working perfectly. So whatever we can do to make this mitophagy better, then it helps a lot with this, let's say, to rejuvenate the cells. And when we were studying this, for example, at Provital, we launched DetoSkin, and this active actually was launched at the very same year when all the processes related to autophagy got the Nobel Prize in medicine. That was in 2016, if I correctly remember. So what happened with DetoSkin is that it accelerates in these aged cells the correct mitophagy process, so that it was seen not just only in vitro but also in vivo that the skin looked better on the outside with the application of this active, and not only that, but it also got better elasticity and even a smoother skin tone. So we can see there there's a perfect relationship between autophagy and cosmetics.
Oh, thank you, Ruby. Well, if you have more questions, you have just to send us a mail to marketing@weareprovital.com. And well, it was a pleasure to do this webinar, and thank you all for listening, and see you next time.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you.